Hello and welcome to UKVersus, one of the only places that would not start World War III because no one showed up to our birthday party. I am joined by Cameron UVS Hermit.
I thought we weren't going to get political, man.
I never said I was going to get political. Plus,
I know, but I get enough shit for being the American on this podcast anyway, and you can't just let me skate by one week.
yeah, but I was also gonna make that joke last week, and it got even better thanks to the idiocy of yesterday. But anyway,
Better.
the joke got better.
Yeah, the joke got better. The situation, not so much. I
Look,
apologize on behalf of normal America to the rest of the world.
I
Not all of us are this crazy.
I saw my opportunity and I ran with it. So, anyway, we've had a hell of a week with political stuff going down, a 2.5k event happening in America with the retro events going down now. I'm very interested to see what the retro events are going to come down, because I imagine that will influence the next month of Rochester Retro. But the big thing is we got our first look at TMNT with the design primer, and we got more Street Fighter cards. I think we're still missing 15, maybe down to 12 at this point.
Let's see. There's how many cards per deck?
22, including each character.
21.
21,
Each
21,
character.
yeah, 21.
So 42 total. We've seen 24 cards. So we've got
18.
18 left.
Oh, I thought we'd seen some more over the on Friday, but yeah, so we've got 18 left to go.
No, I don't believe anything new was revealed on Friday. If it is, it's not on Ultra yet.
Okay, so see, we've got 18 left to go. Cool. Well,
so UVS Games, get on that, because I've got planning that needs to happen.
We've got 18 left, and we've got, say, 3 weeks. So they give 3 weeks, so that they're all kind of out the week of reveal. That means we're probably going to see 6 a week. That's not too bad.
True, but as someone who needs to have this information to test a deck for Louisville, I mean that is my fault. That is on me for picking an unreleased character to play. But man, it's a bit of a struggle bus. So I'm just focusing on getting my locals ready for Louisville, and that's been hilarious.
Any Spice being played?
I'm trying to build decks for them that have characters that they're comfortable with. One of my locals, Olin, got top 32 at US Nationals this year with Godzilla.
Nice.
So I built him a little bit slower, more powerhoused Godzilla, and he's used to just turn 2ing people. And I'm like, this is not a turn 2 deck, it's a turn 3 deck. And then when I showed him the deck, I built 7 on my first turn going first, and then beat him on turn 2. So that's fun. And then my other local, Dylan, has been playing Smiling Titan basically since AOT 1 on and off. So I built him a rumbling Smiling Titan. And I was like, hey, Dylan, how's it feel? He goes, it feels absolutely disgusting in the best way possible. Because when you're just like rumbling, lose your hand or your stage. Cool, you're going to get hit with 17 damage here. I'm going to ready my character and play another attack because I've built to like 15 foundations because I don't care. And it's hilarious.
I think at that point you just sacrifice the board and go, yeah, you're at 17 foundations, lose 12 of them.
Yeah, but it was nuts.
But no, that makes a lot of sense. I'm very interested to see what Louisville's going to pull out, being that it's the first one we've had where Apocalypse is legal outside of Oceania, and we're going to have Street Fighter in there as well, so people had a bit more time to find the more niche and get a hold of a lot more cards, and there's also going to be 200 people there, so I expect some spice to come out of it.
Are we up to 200 already?
No, I think it's like 186 or something.
Yeah, it was like 187 the last time I saw, but man, as someone who is really hoping to just sneak under the radar at this event, because all of the other events have been like, yeah, we're at 187. All the other regionals were like, 60, 70 people. I'm like, cool. I can sneak into top 32 there, because that's what I need to get my day 1 ticket to Worlds. I need top 32. I was like, I can get top 32 at a 60-man regional. I can do that. Now it's at 187 people, and I have to actually work for it now.
You can still do that. It's fine. But
here's hoping. Fingers crossed.
The big thing for me was the Turtles IP got added to the licenses, and I made a video on that because I found it, and that was on Saturday. And luckily, I found this Saturday, and Robin went out with Flynn to get me my Father's Day present. So I went, okay, I'm just going to quickly record this. So from last Saturday to this Saturday, I think I've pumped out 10 to 12 videos, thanks to all the Riftbound reveals as well. It's not sustainable. Don't, if people have been watching my channel, don't expect that to keep up. I am crashing hard.
Yeah, no, you need to take a break. You need to make it like 3 to 4 videos a week, maybe. You know, if you just release Monday, Wednesday, Friday, have like 2 Universus and 1 Riftbound.
So
there you go. There's your schedule.
In the UK, we're currently in the middle of a heat wave, and heat waves in the UK hit a lot harder than other places. So I'm taking that time to pack up all my stuff because we are moving soon. Pretty much we're in the final stages of it, and that will be a forced break for me because we're moving to a brand new house. So yeah, that's something I can talk about close to time. But we did get the playmat for the starter deck, which I want this in fabric so badly. That paper mat is too good to just stay paper.
Well, maybe they'll do something for like the Redemption store, because they do have the mats with the.
Yeah,
they do have the mats with the with the zones on the Redemption store. So maybe they'll release one, like one of these on the Redemption store with the zones on it.
Yeah, hopefully, because it's really cool. I mean, if you look at like the mat we got there, you got the nunchuck and katana coming over in the deck area. You've got this really stylized. I love it. And when people looking at the video, they're like, the mat looks cool. We've got the splinter backup, which I called. People had a go at me. People were calling me out for it, going, "No, it cannot be." But that is a splinter backup that puts an attack into momentum.
That one is a splinter backup, but there is also a splinter character.
Did you see a hand size on that card?
Not on the one for the starter deck, but in the set.
Did you see a hand size in the trailer?
Did you see a hand size on any of the turtle characters? Are they all backups?
We don't know. We don't know until we get shown. I don't have to actually apologize for anything. That's the key. We've got one splinter backup, and we know the starter deck is made up of cards from the main deck, apart from 5 of them. So even if Splinter is a character, I'm still vindicated by saying that Splinter is a backup, and Splinter is a backup. I am technically correct, and we all know that is the best kind of correct. Also, can we talk about how hard this backup goes, that it just takes your attack and shoves it into momentum?
No, because I did not. I haven't had a chance to watch that video, and I cannot read that from here. I did zoom in when I did my video for the Turtles primer. I did zoom in, and I was able to read what the character says, but I didn't pay attention to the backup.
Well, yeah, the backup basically is a good attuned with remove. I think if it's something like if they played X amount of attacks this turn, or it's got some kind of cost to it, but it basically just takes the attack and puts in their momentum.
So Swordfish 2 with extra steps. Got it.
Yeah. And then, of course, we've got the character, which is a 6-hand size 22, as all starter characters kind of have been at the minute. Retro Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is a very cool name. And the enhanced, this attack gets +1 speed or +1 damage to each attack in your card pool.
Yeah.
But we'll get back. Yeah.
Meh.
We'll circle back around to this because the topic of the starter characters has come up quite a lot on Discord, and it's something we would want to talk about. But
yeah, I know, I get tagged in it every time it does.
But
like, Brett mentioned me in something. Oh, okay.
Yeah, well, anytime anyone wants to talk about starter stuff, I tag you or direct them to your channel because you are the starter guru.
I don't know if I would go that far.
But then we also got the primer. We got to have a look at some of the more a couple more of the starter cards. We got to see Deflect was coming back, which I absolutely love. We got a hint that the secret rares are gonna have some kind of special ability there or mechanic that we haven't been told about yet. I imagine it's something they're going to allude to in more articles, but they're being quite elusive with it at the minute. But the big thing was you now need to do a scheme video, I believe.
Nope. No, I don't, because if you notice, and I don't know if you've got it pulled up right now, I'm looking at wipe out all humans.
Yep.
That word scheme is white. That means it's simply a keyword trait, which I actually said in my video going over this article that calling pizza and scheme mechanics feels really like a loose use of the word.
So I'm going to destroy this argument with a simple sentence that was in my video about it. That's also going to be in my a more detailed breakdown of the stuff we got. Scheme is actually a mechanic because it's a mechanic built into the card. A scheme card has no block zone, so it's something that has to be used in your turn. A scheme card always has a first form, doesn't count towards progressive, and has a card pool ability. It is an action that is similar to City Rampage and other that. It is something you can only use in your turn, and always will have a first form. It's a scheme that you do during your turn. So although the scheme itself, the text, is not a mechanic, the card as a whole is something you do at the beginning of your turn that is going to influence the rest of your turn, similar to the other scheme that isn't wipe out all humans, that makes you a pseudo toga free kind of thing. That's the point of them. It's kind of like a more balanced City Rampage aspect of I'm scheming in my turn, which is why they're on evil as well.
Universus, that sounds a lot more like an archetype than a mechanic.
That's fair. Yeah, I guess
that sounds like an archetype in like Yu-Gi-Oh, where it's like, oh, all of these cards have the same line of text that kind of ties this theme of cards together, but it might not necessarily be a brand new thing.
No.
And for mechanic, saying these are new mechanics, it's, well, these have certain play styles attributed to them, but it's not like a keyword ability.
No.
It's not like a brand new card type. It's just, this is a keyword trait, and cards with this keyword trait have this play pattern to them. So I wouldn't say that I would say they were a play pattern. They are a style of play.
I could see...
They are a strategy, but they are not a mechanic.
Rather than mechanic,
and I'm technically right, which you just said is the best type correct.
But yeah, I was just saying, like you're just saying, the way you explained it is a lot better. Rather than it being a mechanic, it's a keyword archetype, which makes a lot more sense. The one thing, I've got this in the video that's coming out whenever I get around to editing it, because I'm melting at the minute. My release schedule is going to be affected by the heat wave. But
don't blame you.
No. The one thing I do love about this is actions are possibly the hardest thing for new players to get their mental load around. They struggle to understand the timing. They struggle to understand how actions actually work. And a scheme is actually a great way to introduce actions to new players. You get to point out that this is a card that does something that isn't an attack, it isn't an asset, it isn't a backup, it doesn't build down. It's something that has its own timing, has its own abilities, and having to do this at the beginning of your turn is a great way to kind of introduce actions to new players and help them get their head around them as something that new players have been struggling with. And if this is what schemes have actually been brought in to do, I think this is a great thing.
Yeah, I could definitely see that. But in terms of the pizza keyword, we've already had cards that are pseudo-archetypical, like with Hardened and Red. Did pizza need its own keyword? Couldn't we just have extra cheese pizza delivery, and be like, after you flip a pizza card, like a Hardened card or a Red card? Did we need an extra keyword here?
I think so, because if it just had pizza in the name, you can end up going to, like your example, with other IPs and other things becoming restricted. So like you've got in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you had the frog archetype, and suddenly these very old cards that just had frog in their name became overpowered. You had the Red Eyes Black Dragon tribal decks, and then you had, oh yes, anything that has red eyes B or something, or like red eyes in it, got this buff. And then there was like this really old card that just said Red Eyes in its name, but wasn't part of the Red Eyes Black Dragon tribal. So it's one of those things that if we get, say, go down and say we get, I don't know, a Sims IP a challenger, and we
I
get
was about to say, name one IP that would have pizza in it that would make this a problem.
Food Wars.
I don't think I've seen. Granted, I haven't watched Food Wars yet. It's on my to-watch list.
I see.
I
You
can't
want to
think of
go?
a single time. I can't think of a single time they've made a pizza on Food Wars.
Food Wars, Futurama. Because Futurama would get you. Fry was a
I don't see us getting.
Fry was a pizza delivery guy.
I don't see us getting Futurama. I don't think we could afford it.
I'm just thinking that Shaun the Sheep has pizza in it. Pizza is
You're really grasping at straws, man.
it's one of those things.
But
That
I see what you're talking about. I don't see that as a big enough problem in our game, at per se, that was something this niche. It would cause too much of an issue.
no, but it also kind of locks into the IP, which is something that we can get into that another thing. It goes back to like the argument I've had and I've been talking about quite vocally the last couple of months. Not every set needs something new. Schemes are very cool, but you could have done this without calling it a scheme. You could have done the pizza thing without calling it pizza, and then.
But I would much rather, at least for a couple sets, have things like, okay, we're gonna have these scheme cards. It's a suite of actions that all play this way, and maybe that's like unique to that set, where it's like this is how actions are gonna play this set. Dope. Not everything has to be new game mechanics, world warping mechanics that everyone has to then wrap their head around and then worry about balancing that with past mechanics. But stuff like that where it's like, okay, scheme. It's a different way to play actions that we're introducing in this set as just a new play style. But let's go for it.
It's whether it stays in this set, and that's where my issue comes along. So we've had Ruin and Shift and all these things come in, and they've been locked into like AOT. We haven't seen Ruin or Shift outside. We've seen Deku as a flip character, but we haven't seen anything that shifts. We've got schemes here, and say we get Villains of Exandria in a couple of years. Are we going to see schemes in there? Because that'd be a perfect place to put schemes in. And honestly, I think I've just been ruined by the Heroes of Exandria set, which perfectly balanced attunement and non-attunement, interaction with new cards and new abilities, interactions with Deflect and utilizing Deflect in fun ways, taking all the stuff we already had and expanding it into the IP rather than going, oh, here's a scheme, here's a pizza card, here's a Shift, here's Ruin, and all these other things, and just going, rather than introducing new things, we're going to expand on what we've already got, and then we go straight into TMNT after Apocalypse, where we go, oh, we're back to 2 simple characters, all attunement, and here's pizza and scheme and this SR ability that we don't know anything about yet, and all these other things that are coming in, and it's cool, but it's not like we're Union Arena where we're locked into a singular IP when we play. So a new player coming in going, cool, I know my TMNT deck, I know about schemes, I know about Deflect, I know about Breaker, I know about Stun, I know about the Evergreen stuff, and then they run into someone who goes, I'm going to play this card that basically flips your board, and I'm going to ruin you, I'm going to play my shift attacks which flip. On top of that, I'm now going to play my attack that I can play in your turn, and like, oh cool, where did all this new stuff just come from?
Yeah, I think that's an issue with the design philosophy of having the game fit the world rather than the world fit the game. And it's more like, hey, what can we add to the game to make this world feel unique, as opposed to how can we have this game this world fit into our game as a whole.
Yeah.
And not having these world unique mechanics. As someone like cards on the table, don't care for Attack on Titan as an IP. I love this game, so of course I'm going to get all the sets and as many of the cards as I can because I want to keep up with the game itself. But if I came in as a new player for Turtles and I didn't care about My Hero or Attack on Titans, I was like, oh, I'm not going to get those cards. like you said, I'd be completely in the dark about a lot of this, even if I knew you could mix and match. So I don't know if there's a way to make it that all inclusive unless you're like, for this world, we're going to introduce this thing like Ruin or Shift, and then you can sprinkle it in throughout other IPs as well, kind of like how they brought Deflect back and they brought Deflect and something else back. Frenzy, which we had only seen in I think 2 sets, or was it just Star Trek?
No, Frenzy was in something else as well. Possibly Solo Leveling?
Yep, it was mainly there's 3 in Star Trek, 1 solo leveling, and 1
Yes!
critical role.
Yeah. I knew,
There's a
I
grog
know it
card.
had been sprinkled out a little bit more,
Yeah.
but
So I could see sprinkling these abilities to keep them more relevant and keep them more in the front of the minds of people who are continuing to play. But if you make them more world specific, it feels cheap in a way. Like, yes, those worlds feel more complete, they feel more full, but then if you're not going to give them to anyone else, I mean, it just feels a little
I think it
one-sided, like those sets have an advantage that the others don't.
I think it comes down to, if we like circle back to what you're saying about mechanics versus archetypes. Like turning pizza into a mechanic versus going, okay, in TMNT we're going to have a pizza archetype. It's going to be based around this recursion of cards, like we see with the Raphael Sai and Leonardo's katana, which are also, when they're discarded or milled or checked, they get to be built in. So it's going to be, the TMNT set is going to be about recursion, about using your cards no matter where they are, about balance, about synergy, about what ninjutsu and harmony and like yin and yang, all the like Eastern cultural like influences actually bringing that into the game, and like you said, utilizing the IP into the game through that translation, rather than going, this is the IP, we're going to translate it, but we're going to translate it by turning what makes it unique into mechanics, rather than trying to find that synergistic flow.
Yeah, because like I could see we're allowed to talk about Godzilla, right? Like that's common knowledge at this point
So
that there is going to be a Godzilla set eventually.
the exact word. So I did legitimately email the UVS lawyer about this. As long as something is publicly available and widely enough known that we didn't introduce, I can talk about it. So the Gigan PVE, and yes, due to the Gamma leaks still being publicly available in Discords and Facebooks, we can talk about the fact there is going to be a Godzilla section,
Okay.
but we have no information on that set.
No. But what I was gonna say is a Godzilla set would be a perfect place to reintroduce Ruin because it's giant monsters stomping all over cities.
As well as like the
So I
big
could
13 diff attacks.
Yeah, I could see stuff like that making a comeback because it fits that world. Now
Yeah.
it was introduced with AOT, and actually because we were testing Godzilla versus Smiling Titan, we actually looked it up. Godzilla is about 2.5 times bigger than the Colossus Titan, height wise. Comes up to his hip, so it was kind of funny. But
You don't want to get started on that comparison tree, because then you end up in One Piece.
no, I don't want to.
One Piece giants are huge.
Yes, but as I was saying, where you could introduce a mechanic through an IP,
Yeah.
that's a great place that they could bring some of these mechanics back. If we had a what's that game called? Like a Bloody Roar, the old PlayStation 1 game where the people could transform into like were animals. That'd be a great place to bring back transforming characters and possibly shift cards. So introducing through this fleshed out world, but still finding a place to put stuff so it's not just locked into this one world is where I'm thinking.
Given the IPs that we've gotten, I'm not expecting to see Dr. Baxter in the character list. Although that would if we had him, like if we were doing like Turtles for the Ages, having Dr. Baxter transform into Superfly, but they kind of changed his story in Mutant Mayhem, that instead of Dr. Baxter becoming the Fly, he raised a mutant fly and then was killed by the shadowy forces. So Superfly grew up to hate all humans.
Interesting.
So that's why Superfly does. But yeah, I think like the archetype of scheme in TMNT is great. It's a great way to introduce. It's a great way to have this kind of translation of the IP, bringing something new in, which isn't really new. It's not a new card type. It's not. It's a new way to just play actions that can translate into other IPs. If we get a new My Hero set, we can get an All for One scheme, a Shigaraki scheme, a Stain scheme. We can even get schemes for non-evil characters because they are essentially just strategies.
And, yeah, I absolutely agree. I think that could be a good way to make some actions, moving forward. Like if City Rampage was a scheme, of course it'd be a first form, and you wouldn't be able to double down on them. But
it'd be a first form that it would be a first form, and it would the +1/+1 to your attacks would be an enhance.
Yeah.
And you would also not be able to block with it, which is a big one. It's got
true.
such a good block mod on it.
Yeah, but I could definitely see, especially for some more complex cards, like you said, actions are some of the most complex cards in our game. Having a simple way to play an action of this just spells it out so well, of this is exactly what these actions want to do and when. I think that'd be a good thing that they could do moving forward, of just, this complicated thing. Let's release a shortened version, like we have Echo now, is much better than multiple in my opinion, especially as someone who has to teach new players what multiple is.
And especially since they made the change to multiple, that they come from the top of your deck instead of the momentum.
Yeah. It's... Explaining why Shuoken stops multiple was annoying. It's like, I'm going to multiple. You can't. I have a Shuoken in my card pool. Well, why is that? Well, because of XYZ, and we're not going to get down that rabbit hole. We're not here to talk about retro today.
No, we're not. But speaking of new players, how are you finding the new card backs, the new card text backs, the identifiability of them, and the way that the rarity is on cards?
All right, so I went on a rant in my video going over this, and before anyone watching from UVS Games jumps me for this, I was also very positive, but I did have an issue. The first time I read Wipe Out All Humans, I skipped the part talking about Scheme. I just saw, ooh, new card, and I just wanted to read the new cards. I thought Wipe Out All Humans was a foundation. Because I was like, wow, first form, my rival's check gets -2? Holy crap. That's every turn? That's really good. And then I looked harder at the card and was like, oh, we have the spray paint on the backgrounds, and maybe it's me. And maybe it's because I'm not familiar with this version of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. But the graffiti-esque style art kind of makes the splash of spray paint behind the names a little hard to see in some text box, like Mechazoid. That pink really blends into the orange and red background.
It might also be because in Wipe Out All Humans you got the blue on the top, and then if you put the blue on the bottom, it's more like a framing effect.
Yeah, that's a little rough. With Trash the City, because it's a rare and you get that brick that shows that it's blue, that pops more, and that makes it a little bit more easy to see. So I don't like it. And maybe I'm going to sound like an old head or a boomer or whatever. I would love if all of the cards had the paper tearing away with the exposed brick, and the exposed brick was the color of whatever card type it was going to be, because I do think having the white background is really good for letting those black letters pop, and you have your your first form, enhanced, whatever, color coded. I think that makes these very easy to read. However, I feel like differentiating card type is more important than differentiating rarity. I think they could have found a different way to emphasize rarity as opposed to having like the tearaway and well, we haven't seen what they're doing for ultras yet, but I just think it's really like I don't want to hate on them, but I think this missed the mark a little bit. If I'm going to be completely honest, because as a content creator, I want to give my honest opinion in hopes that it can be construed as constructive feedback.
Yeah, during the summit, Tam just made the very good point of these do not look like Universus cards, and that's something like when you look at the Street Fighter cards, when you look at the Attack on Titan cards, you can clearly see the orange and stuff like that. And and like you said, when the brickwork is exposed, it's a lot clearer to see. I did it with the starter deck cards. I saw Splinter and oh, that's a foundation because I can't see any kind of spray paint behind. And then someone went, oh, it's pink. I just didn't notice because it blended in with Splinter's outfit because he's got a very backup coded outfit.
Color scheme. But like you can see on the foundations that they've shown here for extra cheese and pizza delivery, the gray behind the name and behind the numbers at the top clashes with the majority of the color scheme. That makes it pop. But in some of these cases, you have like the wipe out all humans. That bug dude is blue, so it kind of makes that blue blend in. Megazoid, the pink blends in. Some of these other ones, it's a little easier. Like with hard-headed and hold tight, the spray paint goes over the black line that separates art from box because it's a common. It doesn't have that pipe, but that shows it a little easier. But yeah, very much I kind of agree with Tam. Except for some of the art styles on like the retro ones, these don't look like any sort of Universus we've had in the past.
I'm hoping that this is just a digital kind of aspect, and that when we see them in person, the spray paint kind of pops a little bit more, or might even have some kind of texture to it, or just some way to show it more. Because we've seen
Hitch said in Discord that these do pop a lot better in person.
I don't love how active Hitch has become on Discord.
Now refresh my memory. Which one's Hitch?
Hitch is part of the creative team. Like he's creative director. He works with the artists and does a lot of the creative design kind of aspects. So, like whenever I do my artist interviews, pretty much all of them worked with UVS through Hitch.
Okay, so he's more like physical design as opposed to like effect design.
Yeah.
Okay.
Hitch and Zoe make sure the cards look good along with the rest of the team, and Matt Smith, Jeremy, I'm blanking on names now. Bill Stark. They are the ones that translate the cards on that. I can't believe I forgot Bill's name. That's gonna go down poorly.
Yeah, that's like one of the easiest names to remember too.
They're the ones that it's because Matt Smith did the article, so he was in my head, and then Jeremy's the one I spoke to the most at the summit, so they're like in my main head.
Yeah, but also since we have Matt Smith working for our game, Doctor Who set when?
Well, I already made those jokes.
Yeah, but I haven't, so
that's fair. But yeah,
I get my one.
You get your one, but yes, they're the ones that handle like how cards work, and Zoe and Hitch design how the cards are going to look.
Okay. Because I've seen names popping up, and I'm like, that's not a name I recognize, but I don't want to be the ignorant one saying, hey, who are you again? So I just wait and lurk in conversation until someone says something, and then I pick that information.
That makes a lot of sense. And I do like the brickwork, and I also like this. I know some people have been ragging it. I like the white and the fact that it makes the cards easier to read.
Yeah, and like I said, if all of them had that brickwork with the stylized color, I think that would look amazing on every card. And it'd make it easier to see what cards are what type. But yeah, I do like the white background making things a little bit easier to read.
I do like that we're also sticking with the Street Fighter kind of highlighted text instead of what the colour on the words. We've got like the yellow highlight over a black enhance, making it much clearer to read rather than just yellow text on a white background.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps pop as well. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
I was looking to see if it was spray paint or if it was actually like a straight box.
no,
And it's a straight box.
it's a straight boxer kind of thing. Yeah, but yeah, hopefully it does pop up a little bit more. You can look at like the checks and the control to see what they are as well, but in when you're just quickly looking, especially also on webcam kind of thing, you're gonna make mistakes with this kind of thing. But hopefully, Hitch, as I already kind of said, these pop a lot harder in person than we're seeing here.
Yeah.
So the big thing I wanted to talk about, although we've been talking about this for 40 minutes, is starter characters. So starter characters have been like a controversial kind of point for the last few months. So with AOT1, we saw the kind of the beginning of the change from Clash to starter. We still got Tekken as a Clash, but I'm not going to include the Tekken in here because they were kind of like a step up. They were almost like Challenger light rather than starter level.
Yeah.
So we've had Erin and Mikasa. We've had Percy and
Levi
Bo.
Mikasa, wasn't it?
Levi Mikasa, yeah, Levi Mikasa.
Okay.
Percy and Bo, and we've had. And now we've got the TMNT one here, and it comparing the old stars to the new stars. It's kind of weird because I get where they're coming from with the we want to make the starter deck games fast. We want to make them fun. We want to make them almost demo plus. But at the same time, unless they're you or Mike Hardman, not too many people are going to be able to rock up with a Beauregard or Percy deck and do well at locals.
I do want to say that it wasn't like I didn't play the starter deck out of the box and rock my locals. I did build an actual deck, and I worked very hard on that deck just to see if I could make that bow playable, and I happened to do it. I think a lot of pieces had to fall in my favor for that to work. But yes, I had fun doing it.
So, do you think this is a good move? Going from like the Mirios and the Togas and the Ochakos and the Overhauls that were competitive starter decks into this more onboarding starter deck, which is not really playable for competitive players, and most people just pick them up because they need the character.
Like you said, I can see where they're coming from. If you want your competitive starter, you have the Challenger series. I would just prefer if they didn't have like the extra pack and you could knock it down to like $25. I think that'd be nice. But for this to be something like a quick, you pick it up, you just did your demo, and you can play a couple of fast games to get your feet under you, I think this is a good way to go. I also understand, the concept of, well, if you don't have a lot of new players, these are just sitting on shelves. So at least the older ones, the old heads would still want to pick them up. Problem there is, if a bunch of your old heads pick up 2 of each deck because they want to get play sets, there's nothing for the newer players.
Yeah.
So I think having them as mostly reprints from the set is a really good idea. But starting with this new one, there's going to be 5 exclusive cards only in the starter deck.
Yeah.
So I think that kind of helps balance it out to where your old heads will want to pick them up, and not just for the art, but also for the cool new cards. But you probably won't be selling out so that your new players can still pick these up and start playing and play some kind of easy games. Like you said, it's demo plus. They still kind of got training wheels on them, but it's a more user-friendly, new player-friendly experience. So if that's the goal, I think they're doing better. But as like a mass market, these are going to be good decks. No, but I also don't think that's the point of them.
I mean, the Turtles one is kind of an outlier because it's retro imagery from the 1987 for the main set with the +5. So this, I've heard one suggestion being made to make the starter decks a bit better, but I also have like a second one as well. Personally, I haven't really seen anyone mention, which was kind of interesting. But what if your this like the starter character you have here, you have your 622, and instead of the on the backside having just the Universus logo, on the backside, exact same character, but say they have a second ability and 6 more health.
I think it would have to have a different name, just for card legality
Yeah.
reasons, but stuff like that. But having like retro Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and then you flip it over to like the radical Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or something like that, and it has a little bit of an upgrade.
Or
I think that's
if you had it the other way around, so you had Percival DeRollo, Pepperbox Sharpshooter, and then it just on its keywords it had starter, and then that was a keyword ability that just said not legal for tournament play. And then the back you had Percival DeRollo, Pepperbox Sharpshooter that didn't have that keyword, and that's the one you could play in tournaments that had the 6 additional health and additional ability.
I would say no, strictly because there have been instances in the past where community members have put bounties on these starter characters, saying if you make top 8 or day 2 with this starter deck character, I'll give you $1,000. And that's something I might want to chase in the future if I think I can do it. Like if I think I can roll up to Louisville with Beauregard, the starter, I don't want it to be not playable in tournament. And I think that discourages brand new players from taking part in their first tournament while they're still getting their feet under them if they're not ready to use that second side yet.
But the second side
But
is
if
the
you
exact same, but with more health and an additional ability. It's the exact same card. So like with the personal duel, if you had the exact same ability, but say there was an enhance that did the exact same thing, but just for damage.
maybe. Like the only thing I'm thinking of is it'd be hard to code onto like UVS Ultra, I think. Well, I think it'd be more like for if you I don't know how they I don't mess with the official deck builder like on the UGN unless I absolutely have to. So I don't know how they show. I'm pretty sure for flip characters, since you have to have your starting version. Like you can't start with Midoriya Quirks Unleashed, you have to start with Midoriya on the move.
Yeah.
But I don't know. If you had a way to do that to where you could start with either and it wasn't like a transform character, I don't see any reason why you couldn't just have both and both still be tournament legal.
Because you'd have to have different names because you'd have to declare which one was your star. But yeah,
But yeah, that's what I'm talking about. If you just change like from the retro Ninja Turtles and then you had like the radical Ninja Turtles
yeah,
or like a different title. So if it was like the retro Ninja Turtles or the retro Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Bonds of Brotherhood or something like that.
yeah. It's something that could be done. Just having that 6 additional health on their second ability and making it like a flip card that wasn't a flip card. It was just a second
It was just
ability.
an either or.
So you could rock up to your locals, you could get your games in and go, we're going to start a tournament. I wouldn't recommend using the 622 in the tournament because you're going to be at a disadvantage. But if you flip your character over, you'll see you've got a more advanced one. You can still use the same deck that you've got, but this is going to give you a bit more of a fighting chance.
A bit more of an edge.
In a local event. At Star Scramble, which is designed for casual play, you kind of sit your players down going, this is a new player, don't be a dick.
Yeah,
like,
I'm definitely one of those people.
But it just make sure to have fun, and people can have fun with the 622s. The main issue is the people are having fun with 622s at locals aren't new players.
No, there are people like me who are like, can I? And then it turns out you can. When you're picking up red guards and besieges all day.
My suggestion, which might be a little bit of a weird one, is you throw in a booster pack. And you go, here's your starter deck, here's your character, and here's a booster pack that you can use to upgrade your deck. And it kind of gets them immediately looking at the deck building aspect of it. So rather than them sitting there with the same deck and changing their character, they go, okay, I've got a pack, I've opened these cards, what can I put in my deck? I can put this and this in here. I'd actually like more of these, so I'm going to go buy some more packs and see what I get from those so I can make the deck, improve the deck further.
The problem you get with that is, especially if we have one of these 1 or 2 symbol characters, is what if you don't open any of that symbol? So what we could expound on that is have an upgrade pack that has maybe 5 random cards out of a 15 card selected pack that would go with that. So kind of like with the collector's boosters of, oh, you'll get this deck and then you get 5 random cards out of this 15 card well. Again, probably reprints from the set that if you wanted to, you could upgrade with like more advanced cards.
The only issue I see with that is it's putting more stress on UVS, it's put more stress on the printers, and it's something else that has to be added to the decks, which is going to increase the cost of production, which is going to increase the cost of the starters. If it was just a simple UV, like Critical Role Heroes of Exandria pack, it's a bit easier. I get where you're coming from, but the chances of you opening a pack and not getting anything on any of your 2 symbol characters is very slim. But
possibly if we were talking about the AOT where there's only 6 symbols, but since we're going into 8 symbols with turtles, that does increase the likelihood a little bit.
That's true,
and that's all I worry about.
I think it works better. I think it works better for Critical Role, which is an 8 symbol set but has 3 symbols on each character. No, it's just because, to say the R word, we had Riftbound has their champion decks, which is not their starter decks, but it's a bit more like, it's kind of like their starter decks. That aren't the proving ground, and you get your deck and you get a booster pack in there that allows you to immediately start upgrading your deck. But they are a 6 symbol game, which is kind of where I was falling off on there. In AOT and Critical Role, this would be perfect, but yeah, for things like TMNT, it becomes a bit harder because you've got a 2 symbol character on your starter. We don't know if that's going to follow through into the main set yet. Oh no, we do, because it was in the primer.
Because the primer says all but one character has 2 symbols.
All but one character has 2 symbols, and that everything's going to be attuned apart from the characters. Which, we can get into that another time. But yeah, that was just kind of my suggestion. Because the way the starters are going are good. I like the fact they're putting assets in there now. I like the fact they're putting backups in there. I like the fact that the starters are introducing more. I also love the fact they kept back actions out, because actions are complicated. But at the same time, you should be able to show up to your locals even with a pre-con starter deck, and on paper be on an equal footing with the other people there. Going, my character's similar strength to yours, my deck may not be similar strength, but we have similar kind of like lines. Going in with a 622 immediately puts you at disadvantage.
Yeah. But I think this goes back to what you said earlier about these not being meant to be played in tournament. These are meant to be more teaching tools. But at that point, why not just sell other copies, like more copies of the demo decks, where they say these cards are not meant to be played or something like that?
If these are meant to be demos, then who's buying them? If so, like, I know creators that have bought these. Yeah, I know creators that have bought these, and they're great for the kitchen top games where you just want to have a quick game.
Yeah,
they're great for people to play with. But if you want to play at a local level event, these are exactly as they say on the tin. These are starter decks. But if you say have someone coming in from Yu-Gi-Oh or Magic, or someone who has relatively strong knowledge of TCGs but wants to just understand how we play it, a challenger might be too much too quickly, and a starter is too little too slowly.
Yeah. I see these being as you did your demo, you buy a starter deck, you practice with that for a few weeks, you buy a challenger, and then you start playing in locals.
But your issue comes in here. Uh, say I'm a Critical Role fan. I come in, I buy my Heroes of Alexandria. I like Percy Derolo. I pick him up and I go, cool. What's next step? They go, oh, you want challenges. You want challenges in next if you don't want to make pre-constructed. Cool. Where can I get challenges? You go, you can't. They're sold out distribution. I can't get a hold of them for you. So you're going to have to go online and see if you can pick them up. And it's like, cool.
Yeah, that also I think comes from the challengers coming out so much sooner than the set. So I do see what you're talking about. How there feels like there needs to be a middle ground. But I think that's when people lean on the community to help provide that middle ground of, hey, let me help you build a deck if I've got some spare bulk, or if like I have a book that's every character in the standard legal right now with at least 3 copies in it. And every time I do a demo, I ask someone who their favorite character is. They pick that character, and I say, cool. If you want to show up, the next week or something, I'll bring my stuff and I'll help you build a deck so you can get started in this game with your favorite character. But that leans on people in the community like me who've been collecting for God knows how long, and can
it's
actually.
It's also a lot harder for uprooting areas. So
yeah,
I know a critter down who's about an hour away from me. If they wanted to get their store to start playing it, that'd be a brand new community who would struggle with that middle ground kind of area. I don't think we need a middle ground product. I think the starter decks just need to have a consideration of where do I go next, even if it was just in the booklet of going how to expand your deck from here, or kind of like we've seen YouTube videos of people like going, oh, how to improve the challenges, how to improve the starter decks.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't kind of be on us to do that. And going from what you're saying about the challenges, TMNT is a great example of that. If we get loads of people coming in with TMNT is our onboarding product of the year, and they go, cool, I've done my starter deck. I understand the game. The challenger, the starter deck isn't a challenge for me anymore, but I'm not quite ready to build a deck. Is there anything next? And they go, there's no TMNT
Not
challenger.
For TMNT.
So we've got solo leveling, we've got this and this. Like, I'd really start.
Solo leveling is not a middle ground type of deck.
But you got like the challenges. But that's you have to go his Street Fighter, his soul leveling, because everything else is sold out apart.
Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things that you have to go outside your IP, which a lot of new players are immediately going to see that as a bit of a turn off. They want to.
True, unless they're the type of people that are interested in the mix and match aspect of the game.
Yeah, but you need, because the way that Universus kind of work is we get them hooked through the IP on the mechanics, and then they start to get into other IPs. So when we went away from My Hero only, all of like the people I play with locally, well, when I go to Southampton, only wanted to play MHA, and then I rocked up with all these Yu Hakusho and Critical Role cards, and they were like, "Oh, these are really cool." Actually, I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "Can I play these in MHA Spotlight?" He was like, "No, these are standard cards. You can't play them." Like, okay, I'm gonna have to start buying more cards. Like, yes, that's how we get you.
Yeah, that is. Stick with it.
Yeah,
allow it to progress.
And it might be something that is just going, well, you're gonna have to start buying the booster boxes. You have to start learning deck building, but just having a second character in there, or a way for someone to expand their deck and their learning experience in the deck, would be better than immediately going, okay, you've got the handle on the basics, now go spend a couple $100 on enough product to actually to play the game.
Yeah, that is rough, and that's why, as like a demo person and stuff, I do. If I have all my stuff with me, like if I know I'm doing a demo day, I don't have the bag in here anymore, but I have these giant gym duffel bag overflowing with runners, and I'll take that to my store and I'll set up shop in the corner, and I'll run through demos with people, and if they enjoy the game, they pick a character, I will build them a deck on site that they can start playing with that's user friendly, beginner friendly, but still has some good cards in it to where they can experience a bit of good gameplay. Um, obviously, that's not sustainable for everywhere else because I've been collecting for God knows how long. I have the excess bulk to do this. I have the deck building knowledge to do this. But yeah, without making a deck too complicated for new players, like I like the idea of the two-sided character where one's a little bit more higher level, a little bit intermediate. I think that's a really good idea. But
It,
other than that, I don't know how we improve that.
it's just an expansion on what main deck Dan said at last year's summit when I believe you were at that one.
I've never been to a summit in my life.
Sorry. But yeah, at the first, it was over a year ago, man. At the first summit, when we were talking about challenges, Dan was saying the same kind of thing. Having two versions of characters in there, one that was for starters and one that was for intermediates. And now we've got these new star decks, which are doing really well for onboarding, and people are finding very easy to understand and introduce into the game. Just being able for them to then go, okay, I've got my understanding, I've done my basics, I understand how this character works. Let's flip them over, get a little bit extra health, get my second ability, run through the game again, and just be able to. It makes it also more fun than having to just keep pumping the same character over and over. Kind of aspect, which I know a lot like other games still do have that aspect of it, but I think just being able to expand the fun of the star decks quickly would be better for getting that lasting impression going. Even if, especially if like you play the demos, and you play Beauregard versus Percy, and they win, and you go, "Cool, you seem like you got an understanding of it." If you flip your character over, you'll see it now gets a bit more complicated. Would you like to play again with this with this bit more complication? And if they're having fun, they go, "Yeah, let's go again. Let's run it again. Let's see if I can get going." You go, "Cool." You run it through. You play the second game. They have that more detailed, and you go, "Yeah." If you want to make your deck even better, go buy some packs. Go do this. Go do that. And it also be good for, let's say, at events, at demo tables, stuff like that. Run through a basic demo with the easy low health characters, and you go, we have a free play area over here. If you flip your character over, you'll see it's a bit more complicated. There's some more people there that are learning the game or are helping people out. You can go sit down with them, play against people who have just done the demo with these more complicated decks. I'll keep using it at the more basic level until you're more comfortable, and it gives people more options.
Yeah, I completely agree. And a progressive character like that would make developing your understanding of the game much less of a Sisyphean feat of, I've got the basics, now I'm going straight into deck building, and I have no idea what the hell I'm doing.
Yeah. My deck builder video that I did is my best performing Universus video that I've ever done. It's just on there. It's basically just me for 20 minutes going, breaking everything down to its basics.
Yeah. I think mine... Let me go to videos. Popular. Yep, mine is also the How to Build a Deck in Universus, my deck building 101. Not too... okay, very far behind. Is my fourth highest is How to Use UVS Ultra. But considering that's my fourth highest video, it's still 1,000 views less. That's a hell of a jump. Holy crap. I need to check my stats more often. That surprised me.
I try not to do that.
I stumbled into my analytics once and I never looked back. Except to see that one of my videos was being translated into Japanese, and I was like, "Who's over there watching this?"
Oh yeah.
It's like, wow, someone just let the autoplay just go.
I saw that I had one that was in being viewed on TV, which was a weird one.
Probably someone like slung it up to their TV or something like that.
And I did check out my analytics recently, which was telling me that 0.7% of the people watching my videos are women, which made me happy.
Yeah, it'd be cool to get more women in the TCG space. It's usually just seen as the nerdy guy sphere, and it'd be cool to change that. Make it a more universal kind of game.
It is Universus.
It is Universus.
But yeah, that's kind of all we had really to talk about. I was expecting there to be a bit more back and forth over the starter deck characters, but we kind of just agreed that there's room for improvement.
Yeah, well, it's a really simple topic, and it's just like, yeah, these are meant for babies first Universus, but is there a way we can make it better so that it feels like it encourages them to grow instead of just kicking them into the deep end?
Yeah.
Although I will say, when you said we were bringing on the starter deck expert, I was wholly expecting someone else to be here,
No,
and they're like, "Yeah,
you
no,
are the
it's just
starter expert.
yeah." Well, no one told me that, so I was like, "Oh, cool, who's coming on?" And you're like, "No one."
No, I mean I want to get
Well, then I'm confused.
I want to get Ty on, but Ty is currently at the Stark Dark event.
Yeah.
Marvin's a little Marvin and other guests. Basically, everyone is kind of out and about doing stuff or prepping for Louisville.
Louisville. Yeah. And I'm over here just like waiting for the next little drip of Street Fighter things to be like, am I gonna change Jamie again? Because now that we got his ultra rare, I'm changing Jamie again. I'm on like set 6 now. It's a little crazy.
How's it coming?
I wish I could stop checking attacks. I think in my first 2 turns on Tuesday, I checked 8 attacks. Every check was an attack. I'm like, I need a power shuffle or something because this ain't working. But it's fun. I'm really enjoying Jamie. His ultra rare Breakin' is gonna be nuts. But I have other thoughts for that card that don't include Jamie, and I can't wait to do a stream on that since I'm trying to stream now sometimes when I remember how to do it. It's awful. I hate streaming. I really do.
It's not. It's not as bad as other people make it out to be. It's just kind of getting used to it.
Yeah, and that's what I need to do. I need to get used to it. It'd be better if like people were actually showing up, because then I'd have people to talk to and like kind of work off of. Because I feel if it's just me and people staring at me in silence, I have that urge of like, entertain, be funny, do something, and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing, man. I'm just over here looking to make sure the stream hasn't crashed. I'm not a professional.
I mean, it's just you by playing it, you kind of get more used to it.
Yeah, I know. I need to work on that. I'll probably do my next stream here on Tuesday. I was supposed to do it on Wednesday of this week, but man, this week's been freaking crazy for me. Like,
Yeah.
Everything has gone absolutely wrong, and that's not including World War III. But now, me and Broberg were talking about a specific card that he wants to try to run in a tournament. And he was talking about it over on the Vortex cast, so I picked his brain a little bit about it, and I'm going to do a deck building stream with this very specific, very hard to use ultra rare card.
Ooh.
So stay tuned.
Could be very interesting. Yeah, I guess we'll wrap up a little bit earlier. This could be perfect for me because I am legitimately sweating. I hate having this much light on me. I have been sat in the dark for like 2 days.
Yeah, you need to go have an ice bath or something, dude,
Oh.
before you overheat and melt.
It's not the heat, it's the humidity that gets you.
Yes, the air sweat is just not good. As a desert born, I wasn't desert born, but I was desert raised, and I feel you on that.
Oh yeah, Flynn's got a fan on in his room pretty much all night, and as a UK oddity, we actually have air conditioning. We have a massive air conditioning unit that we have like we have a vent that we poke out the window when we're using it, and it's so good, but you can't have it on for too long because it's so powerful.
Yeah, that's nuts. So, my heart goes out to you on that one, man. I hate humidity with a flaming passion.
I'm hoping it breaks now, but yeah. Guess we'll leave it here. We're in that kind of weird time where we're getting reveals coming in, we're getting lots of news coming in, we're getting lots of events going on. So there's so much to talk about. But in the run up to Louisville, people are very busy to try and like have the conversation about it as well.
Yeah, it's very much a wait and see kind of thing of, yeah, we're getting this. It also doesn't help that we're getting drip fed information some. Like, if there was like, hey, there's 15 or 20 Turtles cards to talk about, let's go. Or we got all the characters revealed, let's talk about it. But because we're getting these drip feeds, it's very much like there is a lot, but when you break it down, there's not very much.
Alright, and if you want to like see the Street Fighter stuff, you kind of need to be on the UVS socials. You need to be on their Twitter. You need to be on their Facebook. You need to be on their Blue Sky, and you need to be signed up. Yeah, you need to be signed up for the newsletter on the website. And that's where kind of like all the information comes from. I don't expect we're going to see anything else Turtles related
Until after Street Fighter.
Yeah, and I think it's pretty much going to drop like the week after Street Fighter because there's a month.
Or I could see us getting turtle reveals at Louisville, like on the stream.
Which is after Street Fighter.
Yeah, but you said a week or so. That releases that weekend.
That's what I mean. When I said like a week or so, I mean like we're going to start seeing them immediately after, the week after.
Yeah.
So I imagine we could possibly see...
Because like 180 cards, you kind of need it.
We're possibly going to see chromes or other things at Louisville. And then I imagine the character reveals will start the Monday after Louisville.
Yeah. Quick question though on Turtles. Do you think we're going to get 8 secret rares? One for every symbol. Because that's kind of how they did it for AOT.
No, they did Infinity secret rares as well, didn't they?
Yeah, so they had one for every symbol. They had 2 for every symbol plus 1 for Infinity in Battle for Humanity, and then in each of the other 2 sets, they had 1 for each secret, 1 secret per symbol that were all attuned. And then in Critical Role, we had I think like 6 secrets, but they were multi-symbol. So with everything going back to 1 symbol, do you think we're going to get 8 secret rares? 9 if we do the Infinity symbol.
I plead the 5th.
Okay, so you know, but you can't say anything. Gotcha.
So I promised a couple weeks when after Summit I would not do this and like do the whole I know something you don't know. I have forgotten. I don't know, but I don't want to say anything that turns out to be true, and then I've somehow accidentally broken my NDA with a theory. So
yeah, and I wasn't trying to get you to like spill anything because I don't know what you were told.
Yes.
So I didn't know if you were told that, but I was just like, that's an interesting thought.
But for the people watching, the people that are like, oh, you said you weren't going to do this. It's not that I'm doing this because I actually remember what they are and I'm trying to avoid it. I have legitimately blocked out all the stuff from the summit so I can be as hyped as you guys as stuff comes down. Yeah. And I don't want to accidentally break an NDA.
Well, let me rephrase it then. What do you think of if a set is going to be fully attuned? What do you think about having 1 secret per symbol? Do you think that helps drive up resale value and purchasing power for boxes, as opposed to we have these 6 secret rares, maybe they're multi-symbol, maybe they're not? Do you think that would help promote a healthier secondary market and keep the shelf life of the game for that set higher?
I think there's a reason Critical Role has sold out and Yu Hakusho sold out and AOT hasn't.
Aside from power level, you mean?
Well, no, even if you look at the power level of AOT is not an issue. The AOT Battle for Humanity's biggest issue is it was too big. Its power level was insane. VME, Risky Encounter, you had powerhouse cards in there. The 4-check cards themselves have rocked the meta to the point where like we've seen them coming down. Origins of Power had Attack Titan's Haymaker, shift attacks that became foundations, basically going, you get to play as attack and build in a foundation. the power level wasn't the issue, but as I say, Critical Role Heroes of Exandria has spoiled us this year because it's shown us, especially after two sets of AOT and then one immediately after, how good a set can be designed. And that's not me throwing shade at Bill and the design team for AOT, but that
they definitely tried something different.
They took swings, they had a chance, they took swings, they tried out new things, but Critical Role went, here's what we can do with what we've already got, as well as how we can expand on what was introduced that's going to become evergreen mechanics like backups, and be able to go, here's a secret rare that can utilize backups, that can to gain echo, that can utilize backups to build in and utilize them for their effects, and that was really cool. And the fact that we had these free symbol cards, we had these non-attuned cards at higher rarities, meant that we could do something that I'm going to talk about in another video as well, and that Riftbound is doing as well. And I hate the fact that I have to keep bringing Riftbound up with this stuff, but Riftbound has signature spells. These are cards that can only be used by their champion, by their legend, and have effects that complement them. Heroes of Exandria, we had Aerial Bolt, we had Sweeping Daggers, we had I Want to Rage, we had these free symbol cards that were signature cards, that were cards that were designed with a character in mind. And with the loss of character kits, with the loss of character identity in cards, which, don't get me wrong, is a good thing in my opinion. I think getting rid of character kits, is my hot take, is a great thing. But having
could be a debate for a later time.
But having a signature card at higher rarities that are bound symbol-wise to a character, like Sweeping Daggers is a Vax card, and it's like you can play this on any symbol that you're playing with Vax. That's fine. However, if you're playing another rogue, like Not the Brave, you may not be able to play Sweeping Daggers. If you're playing a Barbarian, such as Yasha, yeah, you can play some of Grog's other cards, that's fine. But if you want to rage, you have to be on this very specific symbol that you share with Grog. And I think that adds a lot more depth to the game. Yes, you're restricting deck creativity by going, it's not attuned, but you're capturing better aspects of the symbol identity and the character identity of the cards by going, if you want to rage with Yasha, you need to be on fire, or you need to be on one of Grog's other symbols. I am blanking on them. If you want...
I would like to rage's Death, Earth, Fire, Void.
There you go. So you have to be on Void.
I think it shares at least 2 with Yasha.
Yeah, if you want to do not stuff with as a rogue, that's fine. But if you wanted to go into not spell aspects, because they do have some spells, thanks to Caleb, then you go on the chaos aspect, you go on the void aspect with Essek, and you go, if you want to use these other abilities, if you want to team up with the other members of Critical of Vox Machina 99, you can do, but you need to follow these lines. Unlike with Attack on Titan, or we're going to see with TMNT, where we're going to be able to go, cool, you're a fire character, you get Raphael's size, you get to do all these other fire stuff as well, but your other symbol is evil, so you get to scheme as well. And I think the weapons should have been symbol locked to their characters, and going, if you want to use Leonardo's katana, if you want to use Raphael's size, if you want to use Michelangelo's nunchucks or Donatello's bow staff, you need to be following primarily their example of through a symbol. Having Grog using Raphael's size on fire, but being on death, kind of goes, well, no, you're not following the principle of Raphael's size.
And that could also go back to having the world fit the game instead of the
yes,
game fit the world.
and that's what I loved about Critical Role. You felt like Exandria was being captured and bottled in this box as part of the game, and not the game was being transported into Exandria. And like I said, I think that set has just spoiled me and how this game can be designed, utilizing backups and attuned and everything like that. And I know that the design team are 2 years ahead, so if Heroes of Exandria, the fact that it's sold out in 3 months is a good thing.
Yeah.
That might be the design pattern we follow, but we're not going to see it for at least another year and a half at max.
Unless they can retrofit some stuff before going to print.
True, but it's...
But who knows what they do if they do that.
Yeah.
We don't actually work for the company.
I think
or speak for the company. I think we should legally say that.
I think 2 symbol characters are fine. I think attunement is fine. What I also think we need is moderation. 2 symbol characters should be more powerful than 3 symbol characters because they've come at that cost. But they
you have less to go on deck building wise.
But they don't, thanks to attunement. And that's where they kind of...
No, I mean having access to 1 less symbol with attunement. Yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about.
So now they have access to 1 less symbol with attunement, but they still have a deep card pool. But any 2 symbol character that comes in with TMNT that's on the good or evil symbol is going to be at a massive disadvantage attunement wise. But they're going to be quite a good advantage non-attunement wise with the Critical Role secret rares that have got good and evil and other aspects to them, because they have had those little bits of support.
Or like the Tekken Clash decks.
Oh, the
that both have good, 1 has evil. Yeah, but stuff like that.
Exactly, it's the stuff that's really cool. But it's the flavor and the lore of the cards that just going cool. Like wipe out all humans. That should be a 2 symbol. Well, it's an uncommon, so yeah, keep it as a 1 symbol attuned. But if we get a Superfly Ultra Rare, that should be 2 symbols locked into Superfly symbols.
Primary symbol.
Primary symbol.
Not attuned symbol.
Not attuned, just basically resource symbol as is. Going, if you want to play this card, you need to be following the same path, the same ideals as the character this card came from. This is their signature card. This is their character card. But it's not their character card, but it's their character card.
Yeah, it's the card for the character.
Yeah, and you could do like have it almost like a mini kit like we used to see in the DLCs and stuff. But they're spread out throughout the deck, throughout the set. So we have Raphael Sai as that character's asset. Then we have a Raphael Attack, or we have a Raphael Foundation at a rare or ultra rare level that is unattuned. And you go, yeah,
I can see that.
And attuned, I don't have an issue with attuned in moderation, but if you're putting everything as attuned, you are taking away from creativity. I've literally just recorded a video on this. I'm not going to go too much into it because it's going to kind of double up. But when I saw attuned, I was like, cool, I can run all the powerful cards in my deck and have fun at events. Completely forgetting that that's a mirror effect. My opponents can also run all the cool cards and all the powerful cards without any kind of symbol restriction that I'm now going to have to face against. And one of the very cool things about Universus was the symbol you chose to build under influenced how your character played, and each character played differently based on their symbol. Back 2 years ago, where if you saw an Eraserhead on Void and an Eraserhead on All, the way those decks played were completely different to each other. Now, if you rock up to a regionals or locals and you see a Godzilla on Water, they're playing the exact same way that a Godzilla on Chaos is playing because they've got all the Chaos Tune cards. They're just a little bit more defensive. If you rock up,
Yeah.
that's the kind of aspect. They're now staple cards that have to be in every single deck, and the fact you can play them regardless of symbol, regardless of main symbol, it restricts the creativity of the game.
I agree. I think we should have more multi-symbol cards that aren't attuned. Uh, Now I've actually defended having character kits in the past because I think that the game should be, especially when attuned was first announced. I thought, cool, we'll still have our character kits. Maybe they'll be, instead of 9 cards, maybe there'll be 5 cards. But the kit cards are character driven, and the attuned cards are symbol driven, like symbol identity driven. So you have these suites of like air cards that, oh, air is the clearing and speed symbol. So the attuned cards will focus on that, while the multi symbol cards will focus on what the character wants to do. So you have your character strategy augmented by the symbol strategy. And I thought that's how they were going to go into the world with attunement. It hasn't happened like that so far. Critical Role got really close, I thought, but I thought that would be a great way to do it.
Yeah.
To have like a smaller character kit, and then have maybe the back third of the set be okay, and this is for, just to boost these symbols. And then even if you wanted to throw in some symbols that, like, before I knew they were cutting symbols out of sets, like, oh, most of this symbol isn't in the set, so let's throw in like 5 good attuned cards just to do it, so that symbol can catch up a little bit. I thought that would be okay to do.
Yeah, no, I think one of my biggest issues with character kits was the restriction on like card design and the restrictions on reprinting. So you like MHA1. There's not too many cards you can reprint from MHA1 that aren't in an MHA set. Mainly because they're the names of attacks or they're the names of what characters are doing. So you couldn't reprint Recovery Girl's Kiss. But
no, but I think you could reprint the ability on a different card that would work with another healer type.
you could, but then you're creating the exact same card for retro twice. And
But that is a retro problem, and we've shown that the makers of this game don't really care about retro yet.
Yes, but they kind of need to. Retro is our most popular community format, and that is something that games need to survive. They need popular community formats. Also, having the ability to reprint cards among multiple IPs will be good for Spotlight, so people don't have to worry too. Like the amount of one diff draw cards in MHA absolutely dwarfs every other IP. But being able to reprint them, so if we got a chivalrous competitor in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, people would then be able to use the MHA ones in Spotlight, and it makes it easier, and you're dividing it up. And
I mean, technically, we kind of do with the Brad Boimler card that's flip both players draw a card.
Yeah. But being able to but then, like I said, that's creating the issue of retro players are going to get more and more and more, and you get that critical mass of, I'm just going to run.
But they're always going to get more and more and more, because the more sets that are in retro, the more they're going to get. So I think that feels like a bit of a straw man argument.
If I can run 21 diff cards, I'll say draw a card, but and have different names. That's a little bit dumb.
True, but then you don't have a foundation base that's doing anything other than drawing you cards.
Why do I need to have a foundation base that does anything other than the most powerful thing in TCGs? Draw a card.
I mean, if you want any sort of defense, you're gonna need more than that.
My defense is in my hand because I've been drawing cards.
Well, hopefully luck of the draw is with you then. Like, I see what you're talking about.
I don't need luck of the draw because I can draw all my cards.
I do see that as a legitimate concern, especially with something as big and unwieldy as retro.
But with things like Raphael Sai, you can't reprint that. So why not lock that into a character? Like I was saying with character signature cards or character kits, you lock that into them on their symbols. But with Wipe Out All Humans, yeah, this is an evil scheme, cool. Keep it generic, keep it cool, and then when Godzilla rolls around, why not print it again as a Ghidorah card?
Um, Something else they could do that was not widely used. They could bring back only cards. In Retro, there are cards that only certain characters are allowed to use because it says like Mega Man only,
Yeah.
or Dr. Wily only, or this trio of characters only. So if you wanted to lock something like that to make it even more uh, unique, you could bring back the fact that only a certain character could use that specific card.
Yeah. I think the only issue you come across there is it sucked to pull them in sealed.
True, but again, does this company seem to care much about
It's not about the company, it's about us as a community. And if we want.
I understand that, but I'm talking about from like a design space. You can't be worried about absolutely everything focusing on the one design of
But
like one card.
you should be, especially with onboarding sets like TMNT and Critical Role, you should be looking at, are my players going to be hyped if they open this at pre-release? And if I open a grog only card but I don't have a grog in my pool, that's a feel bad moment at pre-release that I don't want my players to have.
Then I think for pre-releases with the kits, they need to start sending copies of every character like they used to. Because Jasco, back in the Jasco days when you had your pre-release, they had these full art copies of characters that you could use only for the pre-release.
Yeah.
And that's all the store kept them for was, hey, I want to run this character in the pre-release. You pick your character after you've already done all of your pulling, and there you go.
But the issue you get with that is it reduces the skill aspect of the sealed and draft and increases the luck aspect of it. Because if you know you can pick any character from the set, you start building your deck around the character, not build. You start build. You're picking draft picks and look at your seal pool at what character you're going to go get, rather than the characters you have.
Then, if you brought back only cards, have them work as a special rule for sealed that it doesn't have that text on it.
That's fair. But then you'd have to,
Because already in sealed, we're not worried about symbol chaining.
no, you have to make sure that players knew that going in, but that's on the meeting. But it's one of those things that I know sealed is not something people ultimately care about, but we have to look. When I'm looking at stuff like this, I'm looking at it as though Universus is the most popular game on the planet, and if we were getting to like 1,000 people showing up to our regions and stuff like that, how would the players feel in sealed? How would the feel at a retro event if there was 500 people in that event? I know it's a silly thing for me to do, but I'm holding the game at a much higher standard than it's currently at when I'm looking at the future of the game and stuff like that.
I don't think that's necessarily a bad call. I think you need to scale it down a little bit because they're here, you're here. Need maybe like be here.
No.
Be here.
Look, you get 0 or 100.
Only a Sith deals in absolutes, which is in turn an absolute, but still.
Yeah, there you go.
It's awful. I hate absolutes. Just nah. We need to meet in the middle. We need to find the middle ground. So there's no 0 or 100 war. Just
I meet in the middle ground a lot, but when it comes to onboarding new players, I want to stay at the 100 because I want new players coming in to be able to understand everything, to have the most amount of fun, to have the most amount of hype kind of thing.
which I agree.
Yeah, and that's the kind of thing. If I'm a TMNT fan coming in, I've done my demo, I know the basics, I'm coming into a pre-release because I get to throw all my cool cards together. I want everything I'm playing to feel hype. And what I don't want to do is come across some min-maxing tryhard that's gone, haha,
But at that point, that's a community fail. That's the community not trafficking itself and being like, hey man, this is just for... We're not here for championship points, so just chill the fuck out.
Yeah, but it's going to happen regardless. You're going to have someone who opens their packs and goes, I pulled these 6 characters, but I have the perfect Raphael deck. I'm going to go get a Raphael from the TO because I don't like any of my other characters, and I can win, and I can get my packs, and I can get the whatever else overprizing there's going to be there. And, fair play to the player that's doing that. You're allowed to do that within the rules, that's fine. But everyone should kind of be on that equal footing, and I think putting the 6 characters in the packs and stopping sending characters out and going, you can play any character in the set you want in sealed or draft, was a very good move by UVS by going, no, you're locked into the characters you have here. If you're drafting, if you're being sealed, you're locked into the characters you pull. You don't get to go, I have an amazing aggro deck, let me go get an aggro character. I have an amazing control deck, let me go get my control character.
Yeah, and I think they stopped doing that because they did start putting characters in every pack, so it wasn't like, oh, I opened 6 packs, I didn't pull a single character.
It also might have been like the first HLC when you had everyone doing the pre-release for League of Villains, and you had like 98 people go, I don't like any of the characters I pulled. Yeah, can I have a spinner or a muscular, please?
Yeah. When I was doing Take 10 with Chris Smith, he talked about how he opened 2 twices and just got bodied by 3 musculars back to back to back.
We got given an additional character to have rather than going getting a character there, which was kind of good. But I got given a Dabby, and then I opened 2 Dabbies, and I'm like, this is the worst possible format for me to have Dabby 2 here.
This is Providence.
I played Spinner. I had fun playing Spinner. But yeah, no, I think stuff like that have been good, and as much as people may hate me for saying, UVS have made some very good decisions over the last couple of years.
I completely agree.
There's been some good progress from them, and they are making better communication. They are making better decisions. It's just that every time they make a bad decision, people expect them to immediately explain it or expand on it. It's like, they can't.
Especially when they're working so far ahead.
Yeah. And people seem to only want to judge UVS based on their bad decisions and their lack of communication, and not on how far the company has grown in the last 3 years. And for the 3rd time in the last 2 goddamn hours, Riftbound and Castle Panic and Star Trek Star Realms, all these big games that could have chosen anyone to distribute them, chose UVS. And that is a massive get for them that they wouldn't have gotten 3 years ago. And that is a testament to how far the company has come in the last 3 years. The fact that it's continuing to grow, the fact that we're bringing in better, stronger, more experienced people. And my hot take, there's probably a lot of Jasko-isms that the company still displays and ties to like Jasko-esque stuff. I'd happily see burn away and just go more into the UVS we've got now.
Yeah, I could definitely see that, and I would never disparage the company for how far they've come.
No.
I do agree there's a lot, I'm probably one of the few people who loves a tune. I think that's a great thing. I can play my character to the absolute best of its ability by utilizing all of its symbols. I love that. But, like you said, I do think that there are some stumbling blocks, and they're taking massive swings, and sometimes they just won't land the first time. I also wonder if this is an issue of being too far ahead. Like they said, they're 2 years ahead in production and planning and stuff. That makes it harder to
react
and to course correct when something does go sideways pretty bad.
Yes.
So maybe being 1 year out might be better as opposed to the 2 years. But again, as someone who doesn't work for the company and doesn't see the internal memos, I can't say for sure.
I think 2 years is a good time frame because you gotta think they're 2 years ahead design wise. They're probably about 1 year ahead print wise and organized play wise and stuff like that, which is kind of the golden space you want to be in. But they need to be 2 years ahead. They need to be looking at movies, IPs, games, stuff that is coming,
Oh,
so
like
they can,
acquisitions wise, totally.
yeah, so they can hit
But
it hard and they can start designing quickly. Getting Solo Leveling 3 months before it was nominated as Anime of the Year, mwah, fucking masterpiece. The fact that we haven't had a second print run that has big sticker on it that says Anime of the Year 2025, that's where I kind of have an issue with. But who knows how long that kind of takes. And I also bring it up in a video that I've recorded. Uh, but
okay, so before we go through your entire
yeah,
unreleased catalog,
I'm gonna have no videos to put out this week at this rate. But
yeah,
but yeah, that's the kind of thing that picking up Solo Leveling was a great acquisition. If that was done 2 years ago and those cards have been designed for 2 years, that's so good because Solo Leveling was a relatively popular manhwa that people were hyped to see coming up. And then we saw it come down, and it could have been fumbled. Do you know the beginning after the end?
is that a song or a show?
So the beginning after the end is another manhwa similar to Soul Leveling aspect. A person is reborn, gets overpowered abilities, and basically, rather than losing their humanity to get more powerful, this evil king is reborn into a child's body and gains humanity, gains what it is to have a family and to feel love and to but also has all these overpowered abilities. But the anime, just gonna say it, fumbled to the point where they cut out fights for shopping episodes. They purposely cut out things that were difficult to animate and just kind of also chucked in effects, changed the story dramatically, and it'd be one of the things that if Universus had jumped on the beginning after the end and we had that announced now, that is an anime that has uh, fumbled its execution. That is also getting a season 2 that would go hard in the game, and but also essentially the game would look exactly like the anime because it is just animated JPEG PNGs. But that's what kind of it's good to see that universes are kind of following trends, following hype, but also sticking with their roots. We've got the fighting games. We've got Tekken. We've got Street Fighter. We're probably going to see. We've got Guilty Gear, and that's the kind of stuff that we're seeing. They are listening to feedback, even if they're not the quickest to be able to react to it.
Yeah. Yeah, it was just something I thought I'd broach as a subject because I don't know. I don't work for these people. I don't know how they actually operate. Maybe they're running full steam and they're like, if there's any problem, we can fix it in post. And
we are
move
two vastly underqualified people talking at cameras about things that we're approaching from a player perspective. Nobody we're not.
Yeah, as I say when I was helping my wife with her business degree homework, sometimes you need an idiot's perspective. Yeah. And this is my idiot's perspective.
It's one of those things that you've got people that are playing for the love of the game. We're going to make decisions that we think are best for the game, but they may not be what's right for the game. It's just what we want for the game. And that is what you get a lot with the community. You get people wanting everything that they think will make the game perfect without realizing it would damage the game or make the game worse or it's just not feasible for the game. But keep up the hype, keep showing the love. That's why we got things like Nick Reagan's card design contest and things like that, where people get to have
I
that
finally
fun.
submitted my stuff for that.
I have started on Hero X, and then the heat wave hit. And I put it away.
I've learned I have so many ideas, but man, when I have to actually sit down and build the card in my photo editing thing, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. So I didn't do like a full suite for Faust, and I have some other characters and stuff from like my D&D campaign that I designed. And I was like, all right, we'll just do this, throw them in, and forget about it. But as you were saying, things we would love to see in the game, but could actually end poorly for the game. I have a lot of that. I'd love to
Yeah.
see Omen of Sorrow in this game. That wouldn't sell well unless the cards were really, really strong, because no one's played that game except me. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one who knows that game exists. It's amazing. It's beautiful. It's basically like, think of all the Universal movie monsters as original characters, and it's a fighting game.
I
And you
mean,
have like the Countess Bathory, you have a gargoyle, you have Van Helsing, you have a fallen angel. So good, and the art is so amazing. That game was dog ass.
I was
There were
literally,
literally unplayable characters.
I was talking with Hitch today because I watched K-pop Demon Hunters last night,
I
and
saw that on Netflix. Is it
and
good?
yeah, it's really good. And Hitch watched it yesterday, and I messaged him today going, "So when do we get a challenger?" And he literally said, "Just because you like something doesn't mean it has to be in the game." I was like, "I don't understand what you mean. I like this. I like this. I want to make them kiss so I can have them both in one place." It's
Yeah,
like,
I want to ram my action figures together. But like, that game was so broken. If you played as Quasimodo, you literally could not do his ultimate attack because the button controls didn't work.
Oof.
It was coded improperly. But it was such a good-looking game, and no wonder a brand new copy of it was only like $15 for a PlayStation 4 game on release. That should have been a red flag, but it was so cool looking. I'm like, you know what? I'll get this. And that game played like dog ass, but man, it was so cool.
But like you, as you said before, like really like Attuned. I don't think the issue is with Attuned. It's
It's
with
just how they're utilizing it.
it's moderation. Like you're saying, oh yeah, I really like this card. Why wouldn't I want all this stuff? It's like, yeah, I really like whiskey. I cannot have everything I drink throughout the majority of the day be whiskey. Why? I will die. I need to have some moderation.
Just treat it like iocane powder and build up your immunity. 10 points to whoever gets that reference in the comments. No Googling.
I mean, I used to like whiskey on the rocks, but I've really gone off ice recently.
Oh, I mean, perfect time to get off of ice. I mean,
Yeah,
in the middle
that
of
is
the
the
biggest
joke.
well, I didn't know if you were making taking another shot at America.
I wasn't.
Our whole ice
If I can take it,
situation.
if I can take a shot at you, I will take a shot at you.
I thought you did.
I did take a shot. But to be fair,
Okay, well, and then I made the shot about the heat waves, so...
Yeah, but to be fair, that wasn't
double
my
entendre,
joke.
it worked.
That wasn't my joke. I've taken that joke from someone else. I've also seen a bunch of people on TikTok talking about Pokemon Pokemon matching and going, don't forget, fire's really good against ice. Like, mwah. But anyway, back to what we're actually talking about. Moderation. It's one of the things that UVS seems to be going very dramatically in a direction. Starter decks are for new players. Let's make let's make the deck really easy for new players. The new 5 cards, great moderation. Make it appealing, and the fact they're all 80s reprints, great for collectors to want to pick up as well, but not a necessity like when we had with the older ones. Critical Heroes of Alexandria, great example of moderation in how to use attuned with non-attuned symboling, how to utilize abilities without introducing anything new, but going, here's a new way to play those abilities. Great moderation. Absolutely. But then we've kind of backslid. Attack on Titan Apocalypse was never going to be Heroes of Alexandria. It was always going to follow its siblings in its design. I am disappointed that TMNT also follows that kind of design process. I would have loved to seen it go down the Heroes of Alexandria line, but like you said, they're playing this game 2 years ahead. They're trying to judge what they think is going to be popular and what they think is going to go over well, and we're catching up now a year, 2 years behind. Hopefully, we start to see things go more the Critical Role Heroes of Alexandria line, but TMNT be cool. I just hope that because we've got Mutant Mayhem 2 coming out in 2027, we've got the other half of Tales of TMNT to adapt. I think Tales of TMNT is even getting a second season. I would really love to see more TMNT in the game. I just hope we're not locked into this all attuned system when we hopefully eventually get that as well.
Yeah, I agree.
I think we're approaching 2 hours. I mean, we've rattled on for like an hour about
Yeah,
nonsense
we were like,
here.
oh, we'll call it quick. We'll call it a short episode at an hour, 50 minutes ago.
Yeah, and then I think the last thing you need to talk about is good and evil are back. And I touched on
Yes,
it.
finally.
I touched on it, the fact that when we're talking about characters, yeah, this is absolutely amazing. I mean, there was no way they weren't going to have evil in TMNT. I was a little bit worried we wouldn't see good because, in my personal opinion, the TMNT boys are more chaotic than they are good.
But they fight for like justice. So if anything, they're more like order.
Do they though? They.
I mean, they fight crime, don't they? I don't know. I don't watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles.
But do they fight that because it's morally right, or do they fight it because they need to?
Again, I don't watch Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I can't answer this.
Like the 80s Turtles did fight because they need to save their friends, need to save the city, but it was always kind of revolving around a bigger scheme. It's not, and they're also vigilantes, and it's like, are vigilantes good?
I think it depends on how you go about it.
TMNT.
I mean, it's like Batman or the Punisher. I mean, are you arresting people or killing them?
Well,
You kind of got to walk that line.
Okay, like seeing as we've got a few minutes before we actually hit the 2 hour mark, let's dial it back a little bit then. Daredevil. Is Daredevil good, or is Daredevil chaotic, like morally grey?
See, that's an interesting one because he's also a lawyer.
No.
So by day he does follow the law, but...
Don't follow Matt Murdock. Just Daredevil.
No. I'd say morally grey.
So then the Turtles will also be morally grey because they are based on Daredevil. And I'm going to blow your mind with this now because it blew my mind. You've got the TMNT boys. Daredevil was trained. It was trained by
Stick.
And they were trained by
Splinter. Yeah.
And
no, I know all of this. Me and Chris Smith were talking about this at the preamble of our takedown.
Yeah, and
but I will say,
TMNT fight the hand. They fight the foot.
They do morally grey stuff for the greater. Finish the sentence. For the greater.
I'm sorry. Are we really going to get in? When I live an hour away from the place that filmed Hot Fuzz, we're going to get into the greater good.
Greater good. Yes. So they should be good symbol because they fight for the greater good.
They
don't fight for the greater chaos.
Given everything that's going on in the world at the minute, are we really going to talk about morally grey actions being put as good if they are for the greater good?
It depends on your version of the greater good. Because if those actions actually have like malicious intent behind them and it's so freaking blatantly obvious, then no, it's not for the greater good.
I mean, there's a lot.
To quote Hellsing Ultimate Abridged, you don't just accidentally a war.
But then there's a lot of evil. There's a lot of villains or characters with evil on them that should be good in from that argument.
But there's a lot of things to be said in literature of a great villain believes they're the hero of their own story.
But you just said
they believe they're acting for the greater good.
And you just said if they believe they're acting for the greater good, they should be good.
Yeah, but these are like characters that are like, oh, I'm going to cleanse all of this by murdering an entire swath of people. Obviously not good, even if they believe they're doing the right thing.
Okay, so let's say we get an all-for-one situation. Where
that motherfucker knows he's not doing things for the greater good because he says, I am the greatest villain. I am the greatest monster.
But that's after years of being corrupted by the by the fears, prejudices, and of the quirks he's taken on.
If I remember correctly, he actually stole a quirk simply because that quirk was thought to be the first quirk.
Yeah,
and he was jealous.
Oh no, yeah, I'm not saying that he is a good.
I think he knew what he was, and he knew that is better to be feared than loved.
I'm not saying that All For One is a good guy, but when the heroes that are fighting him are primarily fighting A, for money, and B, to sustain a world order of inequality and classism based against how powerful you are based on your quirk and controlled by a governmental regime of when you can use your quirk. Are they really good?
It's a debate of the gray morality of society as a whole. And
yes, yeah.
I can
do this. I can do this for a while.
We could do that. I could Captain America. I could do this all day.
This is why Stain got order.
Yes, exactly. Exactly. Because he's fighting for a different world order. He's fighting that system of oppression, which is a good thing, and he's a vigilante. He's murdering people. He has the evil symbol.
So then why
proved my point.
So then why did Asui get evil?
Because that was when they didn't really know what was going to be evil. They didn't want to put Mineta in the DLC.
Oh, Mineta 100% deserved evil.
Yeah, they didn't want to put Mineta in the DLC. Because, again, and that's another reason why they talked about scaling back symbols for the sets, is so they're not trying to shoehorn symbols onto characters that don't deserve it.
I need to find
Asui having evil.
I need to find a morally grey character that isn't Eren that I can argue is doing the right thing.
One of my locals, just swears Eren did nothing wrong. I'm like, I've never seen Attack on Titan, right? He goes, well, all you need to know is Eren did nothing wrong. I'm like, that sounds false. That sounds false. He gets decapitated at the end. I'm pretty sure he messed up somewhere.
I could argue Essek, but Essek doesn't have evil. Garrett Brett has evil. Do you want to try and...
I don't know Garrett well enough to make a judgment call here or there.
No, I think that was a choice rather than like a character design.
Well, I will say that for the Nick Reagan design contest, I did create my own character of what I would want my champ character to be, and it does have evil. So,
why'd you have evil?
Because a lot of my locals say I'm an evil man or a terrible person, and I'm just like, all right, you want me to be the bad guy? I'll be the bad guy.
I would have to have chaos. I was doing one of my game shows with someone, and they went, "This is some Sam Reich bullshit." I went, "Yeah, it is. It is 100% some Sam Reich bullshit."
Yeah, I remember that.
So yeah, I am chaotic. It is just how I'm coded, but. We have been going 2 hours. That's an hour longer than I thought we were going to go if we just started like vibing at the end there, which is kind of like how these start to go.
Yeah.
I think for next week, I'm going to let you come up with a topic because I'm starting to...
Tapped out?
I am. My brain's melting, so I'm going to not digress. I'm going to... I cannot. I'm going to put it onto you to come up with a topic, and we'll try and then if you get the topic to me quickly enough, I will try and find a guest to come on. But
how about we do pet decks with interesting tech?
Oh, that'll just be me and you then.
No, we could get someone else on. Like, what are they vibing with? Like the streaming I've been doing. It's like, oh, this is this one card. Let's figure out how to break this one card, and maybe other people in the community have been experimenting. So let's see who else is experimenting.
How about we do a build along instead?
We could do that.
Yeah,
we could absolutely do that.
We'll build a deck together, and we'll go over like choices and stuff like that. Which is quite ironic because the stream might start a little bit later next week because I'm filming the third Great British Bake Off as well. Well, Great Universus Bake Off.
Stupid flies.
Yeah, I've got the Great Universus Bake Off, and once that's wrapped up, we'll go into streaming here. But
sounds good to me.
That's it for now. I will catch you all next week. Keep an eye out on UVS Hermit for all your latest card needs, deck techs, and new player advice. For your more unhinged content, please do subscribe to UKVersus. I'm actually getting quite close to the 500 mark. Never actually thought I'd get there. I think I'm 61 away at this point, and I would love to get there.
Over 100 more than me. So.
And I would love to get there sooner rather than later. I will catch you all next time, and we will see you at game night. Bye.
See ya.